Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square with T-Square Talks. Hope everybody's having a great day. Got a great video for you guys today. Today, I want to talk about a little bit about what's going to happen when we kind of have our day, I guess you can say. A lot of us are stacking precious metals. We're waiting for that day where precious metals really climb. But I'm convinced that when that day does come, it's going to kind of be beneficial to us, the stackers, for a couple of reasons. A lot of people I hear when I talk to them, they're like, dude, if you ever see gold and silver go up, you're going to not be happy. Things are going to be ugly and the world is going to be in a bad spot. And to a certain point, they're right when they say that. I do believe that will be the case. However, I am convinced I'm not going to be in a bad spot. Why? Because I'm taking the initiative now to do the right things and prepare for them days when that does come. And whether you're preparing for just regular inflation to continue to slowly truck higher and gold and silver prices to continue to go up, or you're preparing for a collapse in the dollar, just full scale everything, you're going to be in a better spot. Why? Because you're preparing. It doesn't matter if you're just doing a little bit, you're preparing. You're doing more than most people out there. And so I kind of want to talk about what I think it's going to be like when some of this stuff continues to go down this path. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. And if you do, I thank you very much for watching, subscribing. I love seeing y'all's positive feedback, so I can't thank you enough for that. And actually, it was reading some comments this evening that actually made me think about why I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So right off, with that being said, let's get started. So before we get started, as always, I like to take a quick minute and just see what's the price of silver at the time of filming this video. So I'm filming this video at 2 in the morning. We've got $32 silver, 32.22. We've got gold trading at $2,907, up about 10 bucks roughly. The DXY still sitting at right below 107, and the debt clock still about ready to break the $36.5 trillion. Now, I do find it interesting the Doge clock now that's on here, and you can see with the Doge clock that we have now saved $108 billion, and it's about ready to hit 108 billion, like as I'm saying this, because right now it's at 107.9999. There it is, 108 billion. However, the amount of money that they're saving, yes, it's good, but it's not saving enough fast enough. They're not going to tell you that the dollar is losing value. They're not going to tell you they're debasing the dollar. They're not going to tell you that countries are moving away from the dollar. Why? Because it's not in their best interest to tell you. They want to leave people in the dark for as long as possible. But here's what I see happening. Gold and silver are going to probably more than likely continue to go up. Now, none of this is financial advice, nor should it be taken as such. These are my opinions, and that's it. I think that we're going to continue to see precious metals continue to climb in price. A day is going to come that probably within the next year, excuse me, this is one of the bad things about not being able to pause when I'm shooting the video. If I'm shooting on a camera, I can pause, but when I'm shooting on a computer, I don't have the ability to hit pause. And since all my videos are one take, sometimes I cough, so I apologize. So what do I think could happen? I think sometime in the next year, we're going to see some sort of a hit in the economy. Now, a hit right now, we're looking at the Great Depression. Pictures from the Great Depression. As I scroll through, it could be the 80s inflation. It could be the 2008 housing crisis. You know, no matter what happens, all it takes is some kind of turmoil or just continued inflation to push gold and silver up higher. And when that day comes, a lot of people that are not prepared, they have not been stacking precious metals, are going to have a really hard time. A lot of these people right now that I look at in my everyday life, I look and I'm like, really? You're going to put this over that? And people just don't understand. And when I say this over that, I mean, the important things like your financial future is less important than you getting a new vehicle maybe, or it's less important than you going on that vacation that you wanted. Now, I'm not saying don't have fun. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're going to go have fun, hopefully you've got a nest egg set aside, a rainy day fund. And because when you do see the downturn come in the economy and you're stacking precious metals, you're going to see most likely your precious metals might fall at first, but they're still valuable. There's still a lot of wealth there. Depending on what happens, there's a reason why big banks are buying up precious metals. Now, I will say, during the cough, think about what happened, first of all, during the cough. When the cough first started, the economy slowed down, pretty much shut down. And what happened to precious metals? We've seen precious metals plunge in price. What did that do? Why did it plunge? It plunged in price because the demand had slowed down. Why? People didn't have money. They didn't have money. Your stackers, like us, didn't have extra money to go and blow on precious metals. And a lot of big companies weren't buying precious metals as much because demand had slowed down on everyday items. You've seen a lot of people selling stuff. They didn't have money. They were ill prepared for what happened. They were out of work, and they were selling their toys off. I picked up some great collectibles during that time period at pretty cheap prices, and it's not the first time I've seen that. During the 2008 housing crisis, when we were in essentially a recession, and people needed money. They were selling off collectibles then. They were selling off second cars. They were selling off just secondary toys, essentially, stuff they didn't need. And I really believe that when precious metal starts to climb, you're going to see a lot more of that, because people are going to be in a hard spot. They're going to need money. And what are they going to do? How are they going to get that money? If work is slowing down, how are they going to get that money? They're going to have to sell some of the stuff that they were foolish enough to buy when they should have been saving money. Now, I have some of my friends tease me a little bit. They give me a hard time. They're like, dude, you're so tight with your money. Why? And the thing that you've got to understand is I understand what's coming. Now, am I a psychic? No. We're due for some sort of a downturn in the economy. And when that comes, I want to have extra money on hand, extra fiat maybe, extra gold to be able to sell. The idea that you won't be able to sell your precious metals is foolish to me. There are always going to be, even during the cough, there were people that were buying. But, I mean, who was really willing to sell at $11 when we seen the price come down? And on top of all that, the mines weren't producing it as fast. Why? Because everything was shut down. And then as time went on and everything started picking back up it took time. It was a slow road picking back up. What happened to precious metals? We went from 11 back to 20 where we were, all the way to 29, and people were panicking. So the precious metals have been there. You know, you've had opportunity. It's always going to be money. And just because the U.S. is having something major happening does not mean that there's not going to be middlemen that are here buying up precious metals so they can send it to another country. I'm even convinced that if something really bad happened, the U.S. would be more than willing to buy your gold and silver. Now, some people out there are going to say, with what money? Let's be honest. They're going to probably still be printing it. Government does not always make the right choices. You know, I was looking at, it's kind of funny because I was looking at this photo right here. Congress must act to halt inflation. So this was during the 80s when inflation was really bad. And people don't realize that it's government that's producing the inflation. They're the ones causing it. The more money they print, the less it's worth, which means you need more money to buy the products that you want. And then what happens? What can Congress really do to stop inflation? I mean, yes, they could skyrocket interest rates, which is what they should do, and that's eventually what Paul Volcker did. However, they're not going to do that because that will hurt their buddies. that will essentially hurt the banks and the people that are in debt. Now, they're not worried about the everyday people like me and you, but they are worried about the banks. They're worried about their friends, their buddies, and ultimately, what else can they do? You know, a lot of people want to think, and someone actually told me this, hey, with all the executive orders that your president's writing, couldn't he just write an executive order to freeze the prices on stuff? I said, are you serious? I said, no. I said, where was the previous administration when prices were going up? Why didn't they do that? I said, first of all. I said, second of all, you can't do that because look what they did in California. They froze the prices of insurance, essentially. So if you wanted fire insurance, you had to be able to buy it for a lower amount than they were willing to give it to you for. And what did that cause? Well, that caused some companies just to close down. Because if a dozen of eggs cost a company, hypothetically, in a crazy inflation, I probably shouldn't be using eggs right now because eggs are kind of high. It kind of shocked me when I seen the price of eggs the other day. I'm not a big egg eater, but I do pay attention at the grocery store. But needless to say, if eggs cost $10 to make, they're certainly not going to sell them for $9. If eggs to come into the store is having to pay $10, they're not going to sell them for any less. They're going to sell them for more. Why? Because they have other overhead. They got to hire someone to ring them up. They got to hire someone to bag them. They've got to hire a rent a building, pay a mortgage payment, all the extra expenses that go with it. You know, really, it's crazy how people think government has the answers to everything because they're the ones creating the majority of the problems. You know, but what I expect to see is as the price of gold and silver goes up and times get harder on people, you're going to see a lot of deals. And I was actually looking for this earlier. I started out asking the wrong question. I always like to show people online what I'm looking at, kind of. Do prices get cheaper during a recession? Now, I use the word recession here, but it could be depression. It could be downturn in the economy. Why do they get cheaper? Because when people aren't working, they don't have as much money to spend. And if they don't have the money to spend, they're going to start cutting down on stuff. Maybe you won't have extra money to go on a vacation because you're just going to be trying to make ends meet. But then there's going to be people out there that have prepared for this. And maybe that will be the time to take a cruise if you enjoy that kind of thing. A trip to Disney World if you enjoy that kind of thing. Recessions tend to reduce prices on cars, gasoline, real estate. I'm actually just reading this. I don't know why I'm pointing to it because you guys can't see me. But, you know, so when you understand that, you understand there's going to be a lot of deals. But the question is, you're going to have money when the deals come up. You know, one of the things I was thinking about the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he will be probably closing out his 401k because he's out of work. And he's got a sizable chunk of money. And, you know, he said to me, he goes, you know, he's planning on cashing it out, and he's probably going to end up getting a newer car. And I was like, speechless. I was like, are you kidding me? You know, instead of putting that money to a solid investment, I don't want to say save it in cash because obviously it doesn't really do much when you save it in cash. I just think of all the important things you could do with that money when you're out of work, and that's what came up. And his answer to that was, well, I really need to get my car situation taken care of, so I just figure with that chunk of money I can maybe get a new car. People just don't always understand what's going on. They're missing the big picture. Because the truth of the matter is, who believes out there, and leave it in the comments, do you believe there will be some sort of a correction or a downturn in the economy within the next year? Now, I got told, you've been thinking that was going to happen for a couple years now. And I said, okay, has anything gotten better? If you had followed what I said I thought would happen, where would you be today? Okay? The economy didn't crash. We didn't see any kind of a major event. But if you had put your money in precious metals, you would have seen a nice return. In fact, in just the last year, you would have seen at least a 40% return over the last, year, which means your wealth is more than it was, as opposed to what? Continuing to spend money frivolously? By all means, have fun. Enjoy yourself a little bit. You don't have to live an extremely frugal lifestyle like I get told on a regular basis that I live. Yes, I do live that kind of lifestyle. However, I mean, you guys seen some of my short videos. If I want a good meal, I go get a good meal. I'm not cheating myself out of everything, but I'm not frivolously wasting money. Because stacking precious metals like gold and silver, it's a double-edged sword too. I don't know if that's the proper term, but as precious metals continue to go up, you're going to see other prices go up. But when some major event happens, like a war, you're going to see precious metals continue to go up, and you could end up possibly seeing us go into a recession and some stuff plunge in price. When people can't afford cars anymore because they've gotten too expensive, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have precious metals. Your precious metals are still going up in price. Them cars and stuff, they're going to be coming down in price. Houses. You know, one of the things I was telling someone in the comment tonight, you could end up seeing multi-generational homes. People moving in with each other. Maybe you'll have a grandmother move in with her daughter and then the grandkids. And with multiple people in the household, well, let's be honest. A single person household is going to have a really hard time when prices are going up with bills and everything. When you've got two working parents, they have an easier time. When you have multi-generational, maybe you've got a Social Security coming in, you've got a retirement coming in from grandma and grandpa, and then maybe you have two working adults, and then, you know, maybe you even have a child that's doing a little bit of work, maybe a waiter or something, maybe McDonald's. They can still help out a little bit. You know, you'll see a lot of that. Well, what happens when grandma and grandpa move in? What are they going to do with grandma and grandpa's house? You think that house ain't going to go up for sale? They're not going to pay to keep it empty. They're not going to heat it. It's going to be less heating oil. You know, a lot of things are going to happen. And if you're prepared for what's coming with precious metals, I think you're going to be in a good position. Deals are going to be coming up. I remember in 2008, I picked up, and I've told you guys this story before, I picked up a house for under $30,000. Under. Why? It was a foreclosure. Somebody lost it. They got mad. They ended up pulling out their sinks, and literally they pulled out their kitchen sink, their bathroom sink, and then they disconnected all the light fixtures. They disconnected all the light switches, and all that was sitting there was a couple of wires hanging there. The water was turned off, so, you know, the pipes were right there. You couldn't turn the water on. You couldn't turn the electricity on. And ironically, there was a gas leak, but that was a natural. From what I looked, they used essentially a PVC pipe, and eventually over time it started leaking gas because you're not supposed to use PVC for a gas line. You're supposed to use some other type of piping. And so needless to say, they couldn't turn anything on. And I came in with a lowball offer, and I came in with a crazy offer. And they asked me how I came up with that number. And I told them, I said, look, I don't need financing. I said, I have that in my savings account right now. And I gave them a copy of my bank receipt, my little receipt that had the bank balance on it. Now, did I move the rest of my money? Yeah, I moved all my money to my secondary account, and I only left that much in there. So it looked like I was willing to give up everything I had. There's obviously no negotiating. You take it or you leave it. That's all I have. And I gave them a statement. I said, look, I want to own the home outright. I'll fix it up. I'll deal with the problems as I go. Could I live in it comfortably? I mean, it's going to be tough. Without power, without water, that type of stuff. And then I also submitted a quote from an electrical company. And the electrical company gave me the quote, and they said it actually could cost, like $10,000 to fix everything. I said, oh, that's perfect. I had budgeted $15,000 for it. And if you can guarantee it's not going to go over 10, can you write that down for me? And they said, I can't guarantee it won't go over 10. I can guarantee it won't go over 15. So I'll write 15 as the quote. And I laughed to myself. I didn't laugh out loud. You never want to give away your cards. I had no intention. I mean, I'm an electrician by trade. I had no intention of having them do my work. I actually, at the time, I was a helper electrician, but I had gone to college. I just hadn't gotten my license yet. And turned out I ended up getting everything fixed for pennies on the dollar from guys that I worked with. You know, there's going to be deals. That's what I want you guys to take from this. When stuff starts collapsing, when stuff starts getting bad, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. I was checking the time real quick. And when those opportunities come up, you want to be prepared for them. I can't stress that enough. Some of you are new stackers. You're younger people. And maybe you don't own a home. And you're like, I'm saving up. But, it's hard. But if you're saving up in precious metals, your precious metals are going up. Eventually the houses are going to come down. And you're going to be in a good position. Maybe you need a new vehicle. Maybe you're like me. My vehicle is, it's rough. It needs work. It's an older vehicle. But I'm just like, I'll work with it. Because eventually, when people have to sell those cars, you got a husband and a wife in one home, and they've got two vehicles, and they both get laid off. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to keep both cars? No, they're going to sell one, and they're going to look for an out. And that's where you'll be able to come in, or I'll be able to come in and get a good deal on a car. I mean, you're going to see toys, maybe boats, maybe whatever toys y'all are interested in, things you've always wanted to do. You'll have opportunity because you've taken the time to stack precious metals. That's what I want you guys to take from this video. You're going to be in the driver's seat. You're going to be prepared when that day comes. Don't just think I'm going to get rich quick overnight with precious metals, because it's probably not going to happen. And I can't stress that enough to people, because when people put these ideas, these long shots in people's heads about how you're going to be a multi-millionaire, oh, stackers are going to be the next millionaires. What does that do when it doesn't happen for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Do I think something bad's going to come a whole lot sooner than that? It would blow my mind if we don't see something really bad happen by 2030. Why? I'm looking back, and I can't even say the quote by 2030. Because if I say the quote, all of a sudden, I might be public enemy #1 on YouTube. And then they'll be putting fact checks under it. But you'll own nothing. And, some of y'all know what I'm talking about when I say that. And you'll be happy. I had to break that comment down into 3 different spots. Some of y'all already know what I'm saying. But, I want to make sure that you guys understand when things go bad, you'll be in the driver's seat because you're holding precious metals. With that being said, I'm going to wrap the video up here. I thank everybody for watching. If you have any ideas for good topic videos or questions, definitely put your questions below. If I will most likely answer them. If I don't answer them in a comment, I'll probably end up doing a video on it, because I might be like, oh, that would be a good video topic. So definitely leave your questions. If you got ideas for video topics, I love to hear them. And with that being said, I hope you all have a great day. It is Tuesday. I'm excited to see how the market's going to open up in the U.S. today. And I'm hoping to see a dip, but I'm not counting on it. So we'll see. I still got to pick up that other order. You guys know I picked up 2 the other day. The other day I'd gotten 2 in, but I only got 200 out of the 300 that I wanted. So I'm hoping to get the other 100 if I can see the right deal come up. So with that being said, thank you all for watching, commenting, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.